Today on Variant, I talk about characters who beat Superman. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I could really go for a Mountain Dew Baja Blast right about now. I'm your host, Arris. As many of you know, I've been very outspoken about how I think Superman is the strongest superhero ever. However, as I've said in the past, just because you're the strongest or best at something doesn't mean you win all the time. For example, the New York Yankees have by far won the most championships and pennants with 27 World Series championships and 40 pennants, technically making them the best baseball team in history. But do they win all the time? Heck no. In fact, they haven't won a World Series since 2009. The point is that being the strongest, fastest, or whatever doesn't mean you're always gonna win. And the same applies to Superman. He has lost numerous fights in the comics, and today I'm gonna talk about several of those. Let's start off with the most obvious time Superman lost the fight, which is when he fought Doomsday in 1992. I don't think I have to elaborate much on this, as pretty much everyone knows about it. Long story short, Doomsday goes on a monstrous rampage, killing everyone and everything in his path. Even the Justice League couldn't stop him. Superman was eventually able to stop him, but at the cost of his life. This is definitely the most known example of Superman losing a fight, because he didn't just lose, he died. But let's get to some not so popular times that Superman got his butt handed to him. In Superman issue 149, Lex Luthor also killed Superman. How did he do this, you ask? Well, Lex won Superman's trust by curing cancer. So Superman was all like, I guess you were formed, and changed for the good now. But man, was he wrong. With Superman's guard down, he was able to trick Supes into a kryptonite trap that killed him dead. The caveat to the story is that it's a 3-part imaginary tale, meaning it isn't in continuity, but nonetheless, it demonstrated that if Lex really puts his mind to it, he can do anything, including kill Superman. This next one is a pretty fun one, as the Avengers defeated Superman in the Avengers JLA crossover. During this crossover event, Superman fought Thor and won, but not by much. Then after Superman was weakened by Thor, that left an opening for the Avengers to collectively take him down. So Iron Man, She-Hulk, The Vision, Hercules, and Wonder Man all attacked Superman and knocked him unconscious. Sure, it pretty much took all the Avengers at the same time, but hey, they did it. They beat Superman. Now we have the ever so famous Superman Annual 11. This story was actually adapted into both an episode for the Justice League cartoon and a CW Supergirl episode. Anyway, basically what happens is, Mongol tricks Superman into opening a present, but the present wasn't actually a present at all. It was an alien plant that attached itself to Superman and trapped him inside his own daydream. So right then and there, he already beat Superman, because it wasn't until Batman pulled the plant off of Clark that he was actually able to go toe-to-toe with Mongol. But by then, Superman was already pretty jacked up. He was actually on the ropes until Robin, you heard that right, Robin, stepped in with gauntlets to protect his hands from the plant and dropped said plant on Mongol, putting him in a dreamlike state to save the day. So Superman was saved twice, first by the Dark Knight and then by the Boy Wonder. Next up, I couldn't forget the ever iconic time that Muhammad Ali beats Superman. If you haven't read this comic, you might be saying, Ali is great and all, but how can he beat the Man of Steel? Basically what happened was, aliens invaded Earth and decided that Ali and Superman should have a boxing match to decide who's Earth's champion. But the aliens knew that Superman was, well, Superman. So to make the fight fair, they fought somewhere that temporarily robbed Superman of his powers. Superman put up a pretty good match in the boxing ring, but a depowered Superman on Ali's turf stood no chance, and Ali knocked him out cold. Ali then beat the aliens champion, saving the planet. So funny enough, Ali saved the day this time. Moving along yet again, we have The Dark Knight Returns when Batman fights Superman. Much like the fight against Doomsday, everyone knows about this fight. It was even loosely adapted in Batman v Superman. In the comic, Batman and Superman are on opposing sides of the law, and they end up fighting each other. The fight goes on for a few pages with each of them getting a few good blows in, but eventually Batman has Oliver Queen shoot Superman with a kryptonite arrow that he prepared prior and gave to Oliver. This takes Superman down, and Batman gives his famous "Remember the one man who beat you" speech, right before he fakes a heart attack. So with some help, Batman did beat Superman, at least in round 1, because as you could see by the panel, Superman is starting to get back up, but the fight doesn't go on any further because Batman supposedly had a heart attack. Fans have argued for years on whether or not this is a true win for Batman, but either way, it had to be mentioned. Next, you have the time in Superman Batman issue 4 from Superman Batman Public Enemies. In this instance, Hawkman faces off with Superman. Just when Superman thought he had the upper hand, Hawkman punches him with what he calls the Claw of Horus, which draws its power from the magnetic core of the Earth, meaning Hawkman essentially hits Superman with the planet. That's right, the frickin' planet. And with that blow, Hawkman took Superman down for the count. Now, it is worth mentioning that later on in the story, Superman and Batman wanted to be captured by Hawkman and Shazam, so you could take Hawkman's win with a grain of salt. Next, we have Etrigan the Demon, who is a highly underrated character. So much so that almost no one remembers or ever brings up the time that he punched Superman to the moon. Yeah, he punched the Man of Steel from Earth to the moon. Now, I'm not saying this means he necessarily beat Superman, but I had to mention it because, again, he punched Superman to the moon. That's just impressive. The next person to own Superman is Orion. When the two faced off and Superman punched him, Orion just replies with, "That almost hurt," to which a confused Superman says, "Almost question mark?" And then Orion replies with, "This is what real pain feels like," and knocks out Superman with one blast. Then Orion grabs the knocked out Superman by the cape and teleports him away while saying, "One day they'll send me out against a genuine challenge." Which is just insane that he's saying Superman isn't a challenge for him. It also proves that Orion and the new gods are no joke. Then we have the time Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, fought Superman in Kingdom Come. A brainwashed Captain Marvel ends up fighting Superman, and during the fight, Superman is all like, "Look at the horror you've let loose." The horror being participating in a super prison breakout. But all Captain Marvel could do was say Shazam over and over, which calls down lightning to fry Superman. He does it so much so that Superman starts bleeding from his eyes and ears. But before Shazam can finish him off, Superman is able to talk some sense into him by covering his mouth and saying, "Fight the brainwashing, Billy. You could let me go, or with one word you could stop me. Do you understand? The choice that can be made by you alone?" Of course, Billy lets Superman go, but the point is, he could have killed him right then and there if he chose to. So I figured it deserved a spot on this list. Next up is the time that Atlas beat the crap out of Superman. Atlas is a warrior and conqueror who has magical origins from centuries ago. He battled Superman for 3 issues starting in Superman 678. They go at it in a Doomsday vs. Superman type battle, and by issue 679, Atlas wrecks shop and defeats Superman. He even says, "That's it? No one else?" Superman was hardly the foe I was led to expect, and Metropolis a sorry place if he was all the city had. Atlas would have easily killed Superman with one final blow if it wasn't for Krypto the Superdog buying time for Superman's beaten up self to get up and have a shield put around him by Zatanna's cousin Zachary Zatara to protect them from Atlas's magic. And lastly, there's the time that the Amazon Princess took down Superman in a pretty vicious way. It all went down in Wonder Woman issue 219. In a nutshell, Superman went cray-cray when Maxwell Lord tricked him into thinking that Wonder Woman was actually Doomsday, and that Doomsday killed Lois Lane. Superman loses it and starts beating the crap out of Wonder Woman, even punching her into the earth, creating a massive crater. She eventually gets the upper hand, however, because Superman isn't the only hero with godlike strength. One of the things she does to change the tide is smack her bracelets of submission across his ears. The concussion badly disables him, especially since he has super hearing. Eventually, when she realizes that Superman will never stop attacking her, she ends the fight once and for all by throwing her razor-sharp magical tiara at his neck, slicing it wide open. This, of course, beats Superman once and for all. After this, Wonder Woman then uses her lasso of truth on Maxwell Lord and asks him how to free Superman from his control, and he just replies with, "Kill me." And a pissed off Wonder Woman happily obliges. Dang, Wonder Woman, that's savage. Also, in case you were wondering, Superman's neck eventually did heal. But with that said, that brings my list to an end. Of course, there are more times that Superman has been beaten in the comics. He's been beaten by Darkseid and Evil Hal Jordan, Martian Manhunter, Captain Atom, and the list goes on. So there's no need to say, Arris, you forgot this one or that one. I'm aware, I just chose a handful to talk about. When you buy a domain name from Domaincom, you get the power to influence and control what people find when they search for you online. No domain extension will help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. Domaincom is affordable, reliable, and easy to use. The guys at Domaincom gave Variant an awesome offer. Get 15% off Domaincom's already affordable domain names and web hosting when you use the coupon code Variant at checkout. So when you think domain names, think Domaincom. First up for Wednesday, February 1st, we have Green Arrow issue 16. Blamed for killing several high-profile Seattleites, all seems lost for Green Arrow, but of course, we know better. Now we have Harley Quinn issue 13. Just how did a gentle reformed Joker come to arrive on Harley's doorstep, when everyone believed for him to be dead? And finally, we have Star Wars Darth Maul issue 1. Bred on hate, fear, and anger, and trained to kill, Darth Maul's time as an apprentice to Darth Sidious has long been cloaked in the shadows, but this series will reveal his tale of revenge. And that brings another episode of Variant to a close, but if you like what you see, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and then hit the little bell so you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. But as always, remember you can always like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow Variant on Twitter at Variant Comics or me on Twitter at Arris_Quinones. But I'll see you guys next week when I talk about all things comics. Like that. He's all like, "Dah!" Like, "Dah!" I don't even know what that is. It's like a Super Saiyan Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, almost any fighting energy blast move thing that made no sense. The horror being participating in a super itch on my nose. Wow, I had a vicious itch that I could not itch.